Click.
Good evening. Welcome to the Town of Litchfield Recreation Commission. Today is Tuesday, January 14th, 2025. We will call the meeting to order. I'm Peter Ames. I'm the Vice Chair of the Commission. And Judy Brennan.
Present.
Mike Bosky.
Present.
Steve Weber.
Present.
Jeff Town.
Present.
And Kevin Lynch.
Here.
Members absent tonight with notice are Andrew Ruggles and Chair Chris Burns.
And Justin.
And Justin, thank you.
Justin.
All right, would members please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first order of business is approval of the December 10th minutes. Members had a chance to review the minutes.
Yep.
Are there any changes to these, Jeff?
I didn't have anything.
All right,
Nope.
get a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain, I wasn't there.
Abstention? Me as well. And Mike. All right. Next is public input. I know we've got a couple folks on the agenda, but are there members of the public that wish to speak this evening?
Big crowd.
All right, seeing none, we will close public input. And for facility and field requests, we had a couple late requests that we do want to move forward at this time. So first is, for baseball and softball for comedy nights on March 22nd and the 29th.
They requested
Folks.
2 different dates because they're not sure what the comedian can make, and then they said as soon as they have the comedian secured, they would let us know which day.
Okay. So it's one or the other.
Yeah. They will have alcohol, but they've had the comedy nights before, so they know they need the rider. It'll be
Yep, both the
BYOB.
rider and the
Police detail.
police detail will be there. Typical since 2015-ish, I think we started.
Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2 dates, and once they have confirmed with the comedian, we'll confirm the 1 date.
I'll second it.
We have motion and second. Is there discussion? I just say that they've been very well run in the past, so glad to see them come back for more.
It's always a great night for the community.
All right. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Motion carries. And the second request is from Litchfield Pickleball for a winter party on Friday, February 22nd. And
Yep, Friday the 22nd.
you want to speak to the request, or?
No, any questions that you have, I'd gladly answer them.
All right.
Does basketball have it that night?
Let me bring up the
Because they
calendar.
usually block off Monday through Friday to a certain time.
We're trying to make sure that the leagues only book what they know they're
Yeah,
filling. so
Once
that
they
we know.
get their schedule, they usually come back and tell us.
All right, so the Friday is the 21st. So is it the
That
22nd?
was it's a Saturday.
It's a Saturday.
22nd.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay, when you said Friday.
Yeah,
So I think everyone's out of there usually mid-afternoon on Saturdays.
Yep,
Yeah,
it's
that's
open
what
after 2. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. All right.
I think it says Saturday on the 22nd.
Yep. Yep, so it's open. All right, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Oh, second?
We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion or questions? Seeing none? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions?
thank you.
Motion carries.
You go, no.
Thank you, it'll be a good time.
Have a good one.
Yep.
BYOP, right?
Actually, any of the rec commission want to join us,
Yeah.
Be fine, we catered, we'd love to have you guys join
Yeah,
us.
we got Rigatoni's Catering, so please
Oh,
join us.
nice. I'll do
Send
work.
an email affirming the invite.
Okay. Thank you for the invite.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll be in the greenhouse.
And that was it for facility requests,
Yep,
correct?
that's it.
All right.
Sure.
All right. So next time we'll move into business of the agenda, and I do want to move one item up and ask an item to be added to the agenda for TFM to present on the inspection report. Is it okay adding that agenda item?
Sure. Yes.
Yes.
All right. So with that, I'll ask our guest to come on up and provide the report. Thank you for being here tonight.
Yes, good evening. Does everyone have a copy of the report or has had an opportunity to review it?
I haven't seen it.
No.
It came via email, I believe.
Well,
I
that's why
read
we-
through it, but I basically kind of just briefly read through it.
Looked at pictures.
Doesn't mean a whole
That was before the
lot.
holidays?
Yeah.
Nice from the
Doesn't
old
mean a
school.
whole
I
lot.
appreciate your thinking.
We have a little bit.
Good.
Try and save paper where possible.
You have an extra money there?
Let's see what's left.
Probably. Save one for me.
Where are you guys located? Oh, you haven't moved much.
Hopefully with some good pictures.
Big graphs. I'll see pictures, you're all set. Well, good evening. Thank you again. Formally, my name's Kyle Roy. I'm a principal and senior structural engineer with TF Moran in Bedford, Hampshire. And as you're all well aware, you requested our services to do an assessment of the gym floor at Talent Hall so that we could come up with essentially an evaluation of its current condition as well as its safe load carrying capacity. We understood that to be, the load rating to be twofold. One, to determine how much the floor can safely support, as implied. And then the other one is just a little bit of a look ahead to make sure that if there's any future work or planned work to replace or add to the finished surfaces, that there's some extra capacity to take into contingency as you investigate some of those future options. So those were the two items that we had on the front of our burner. In December, we began and we did a visual inspection of the building's floor, both from above and below. As you can imagine, we unfortunately are not magicians and we cannot see the level that's in between. So that's excluded from our visual observations. What I would do is just have you reference that last sheet. It's kind of a fold-out as I'm talking through here. It's Appendix B on the bottom right. And it's really just a schematic layout of your floor framing. The left-hand short side of the building would be your main entrance double door, just for reference and point of view. So we did determine the floor existing construction. The floor plank is essentially a 1-inch thick plank covered by a 3/4-inch oak finish floor. That's what you see as the gym floor surface. That's the majority of the gym. In the back, we did find a little bit of variation in the bathrooms where there's no oak plank, but it's just another half-inch of plywood, exposed plywood. The floor itself is supported by floor joists, all relatively the same, and they are the lines that go left to right on your page or east to west. And they're traditional 2x8s at about 14 inches on center. The spacing does vary a little bit, so that's the average that we carried through. And those are supported by some roughly 6x8 wood beams, and those span up and down the page, north to south, about 10 foot on center. And those are supported in the middle by some 12-inch concrete sonotubes, and around the exterior perimeter, they're just sitting in a beam pocket on the foundation wall. Pretty straightforward. Just observations, I would say, is the area is very dry. We don't usually expect that from a crawl space. Usually they're very wet. This is quite the opposite. You have really good ventilation, and those can be seen kind of around the outside perimeter with the screens in the foundation wall. The dirt under there, extremely dry. You move 2 inches and you've got a face full of dust. So we appreciated that. So the only thing we weren't able to review as we go through this crawl space is, and I'll reference you to essentially the third sheet. that top picture, figure A1, is just more of a general picture to show you the whole system.
Oh, I've been there.
You've got a couple concrete sonotubes, you've got the beam left to right, and then your joists on top. And the area that's hidden that we're not able to observe is where that insulation is, the yellow insulation between the joists. So we can't quite see the underside of the deck everywhere easily without removing portions of it. And we did, we removed small sections and then put it back.
I can tell you that back about 8 years ago, I was underneath that whole thing. With the volunteers, we called them, the Valley Street Boys. Prison system used to come in and donate their time for help
Okay.
to the towns, and I had them, I spent some time underneath there. And I had the insulation was laying down a lot.
Yeah.
For many years, it was laying down. So I had them come in, and I spent most of the day there underneath with them. And we put it all back up. It was an interesting day.
It's helpful to hear that, actually, because I commend you. It looked like it would been built no later than 5-10 years ago.
I couldn't find any volunteers to
Yeah.
help me, so these guys were very open.
It looked great. It looked great.
The only thing is, you should have seen him 8 years ago and how much younger he looked then. Before he crawled under there, I mean.
I wouldn't want to go under there.
It was interesting.
Very so, very much so.
That's why I look older.
So we took that information back, right? We came up with a sketch, just kind of help us come out with some of the spans that we're going to use in our next step, which is some calculations, analysis. And in doing so, it's important to note that we do make an assumption on the existing wood that's there, on the characteristics of what type of wood it is in use in our calculations. Based on our experience, we're not always 100% correct. And I bring that up because it'll come a little bit later as an area that might be something that we want to consider going forward. So the meat and potatoes, our calculations. Unfortunately, we came up with a floor rating of about 85 pounds per square foot. What we would look for by building code standards for a gym like this and a place of assembly would be 100 pounds per square foot for an occupancy live load. We're not that far off. The limiting factor was the beams, spanning roughly, 8 feet, and we used 7 feet clear between the sonotubes, so we tried to take advantage of every little inch we could get there. The joists themselves had capacity. They were capable of meeting 100 PSF, and they had capacity for an extra 15 pounds a square foot, should you choose to go with new flooring that's thicker and heavier, or add a layer. We're only as strong as our weakest link. Unfortunately, that's our beams. So where do we go from here? I brought up the materials. We made an assumption based on the type of lumber we expect to see in this area. We didn't have a good feel for when this construction was completed. The sonotubes look newer, so I imagine that might have been some sort of a repair or replacement project, maybe 80s, late 80s?
Before then, I think it was
Before
when
that.
it was Camp Bleach Haven at the time, they had
Okay.
trouble with the floor up there. And
Okay.
I remember them, they were underneath it when I was growing up.
So it's definitely prior to what we would see as today's conventional lumber that you would buy at Home Depot. It's not nominal where it's 1.5 by whatever that depth is. It was a true 2-inch thickness and, a true height ripped as well. So that was good. It tells us it's older, stronger lumber than we would typically buy today.
Rough cut.
Yeah, definitely rough cut. So one of the options would be, where do you go from here? You're not doing anything right now. You haven't changed anything. We're just thinking down the lines, right? So you don't have to make any improvements. We've discovered something, which we always do when we engage on these assessments. If we didn't, we wouldn't be doing our jobs. One option is we could do additional testing. Now, our particular firm doesn't have a lab, and we don't do the testing services ourselves. But what that means is we could go in there and cut out small section of wood, just like a sliver, send it to a lab. They could evaluate it under a microscope and tell us what the exact species is. And the benefit of that is I do know for some of the stronger lumber grades in this area, we could get to 100 pounds per square foot. Right at it, more like 99.99%. But you would be there and you'd know that you have the normal capacity for your live load. You wouldn't have additional capacity for new flooring that might be heavier, but you at least meet the live load for the intent of the use of the building. That doesn't come free, unfortunately, so I did get a quote. One of the companies we work with regularly, it's about $275 for additional testing. We cut it out, we mail them the sample, they test it, look at it under the microscope, send back a result. I've already rerun the calc based on some options, so we could see where the variation was, and what we reported was the average, if that makes sense. This would allow us to safely go above that with a great feeling of, this is actually what we have, we're not guessing, we're not making assumptions, that's not what you're paying for. So we're trying to be reasonable without saying that you can go that extra step without that verification. We want to make sure we verify that. So that's something to consider. We could do some additional testing if there's value to it. If you think you're going to go down the road and do some improvements, then that might be worth it to you at that time. The other options, discussions with the local building official, the authorities having jurisdiction, might recommend we post the live load. I would always recommend that, just from a standpoint of understanding, knowing where you're at. It's hard to describe to an audience what 100 pounds per square foot really is, but the closest we could get would be standing shoulder to shoulder on every square inch of that floor. You've probably never gotten to that point, I'm just gonna guess. Even with, some fairs or even maybe a party, there's a lot of people there, but there's gaps. Yeah, they're spread out. So, take that into context. I guess that's really why I offer that anecdote is you're not in danger of how you're using the structure right now. You just want to inform people and make sure they're aware that, hey, we do have a limit and here's what it is. If they want to know what it is, they'll ask. If they don't want to know, they'll continue on their business, and then, you just keep an eye on things as they go. You make sure the right uses are in place. So that's an option. And then the other options are, let's say we decide not to do testing, or the testing comes back and it's low, then you can either reinforce the beams, just add a 2x to the side of it, or even some engineered lumber, or worst case, which is probably more work, so less desirable, is add more posts, shorten the span of the beams.
Just gonna dig the hole.
That's very difficult to do down there. It's very tight quarters. Unfortunately, I didn't get to all areas myself.
I think the beam is quite a slide on the side of it will work better.
Yes, yeah.
Plus, we can fix the pockets at the same time.
That too, yep.
Yep.
So that was the load rating itself. The floor, very good condition. Again, I attribute that to the ventilation that's down there. Normally, without some sort of a vapor barrier and controlling the moisture environment with some sort of powered ventilated option, you don't see that. You're clearly getting very good ventilation down there, so it's working to your advantage. We had one spot, and it's clouded on that larger sheet on the bottom right-hand corner. That would be right by the door, closest to the stage, and just before you go into the restrooms. There is one beam that sits in the pocket at the exterior wall
You
that,
took the picture of it.
yeah, so it's the bottom picture, A2 figure, and the last figure, A3.
That's the one with the hanger beside it.
So A2 is kind of a bigger picture of where it is. A3 is a close-up.
Yep.
As you can see, it's pretty well rotted, and it's definitely due to water intrusion.
That's because of the bathroom up above too.
And it also looks like you can even see a little bit of stain below it.
Yep.
So it looks like there is water coming in from the outside. I can't confirm it, but we were fortunate enough to be there on a rainy day. And this particular location lines up with some exterior concrete masonry piers in the building as well. And while we couldn't prove it because we can't see behind it, it does appear that there's a gap between the back of the concrete masonry and the wall itself, and so that any water coming off the roof in that area could easily get in there. Probably a safe assumption, that's what's going on. So you'd want to remedy the water. How do you keep it away? You can do gutters, you can do some sort of barrier on the outside, but you would have to dig that outside to get it water protected. And then the beam itself is really something that should be addressed. That's something I would recommend that, some funding be allocated and a two-step process probably, some temporary shoring for right now, just to solidify it, and then a permanent repair or reinforcement. And again, this could be something as simple as adding lumber to both sides, just to reinforce the beam end, or adding a post right at the end. And it is very obvious from upstairs as well. There's a a decent sag in the floor right at the door there, so next time you're
That
there.
side door going in on the side.
The side
correct?
door, yeah.
That's because there's a step in there and a few other things.
Yeah.
Okay.
That roof leaks straight down every single time.
Right, when it comes out, it's coming out.
Goes right down your back every time you're standing there.
It's okay.
So no coincidence, right? Water is not our friend, especially with wood. And behind the water, usually as it dries it out, and especially in this case, you could be subject to, fungal growth and certainly insects at some point.
Natural.
Yeah, we did not observe any at the time, but they're there as soon as it dries out, they're right behind it.
So if the floor was replaced with the exact oak floor that it had before, would we be within safe code?
You'd still have the same limitations. You'd be at 85
85,
PSF. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. If we do some testing and we find out we've got a stronger grade lumber, you'd be right at 100. Yeah.
Because we've had conversations about, oak floor, about putting a rubber floor on top of it. What's the most economical way to go and
Yeah.
resurface that floor? Because from what we've been told, we've sanded as far as we can go.
Well, it's flexibility is what you have in there now.
That's something to consider too as well. We don't necessarily comment on it, but it's definitely not level.
No.
There are waves in the floor, and depending on what type of activity you have in there, obviously it's used a lot for sports. Maybe baseball and softball don't have a big problem with it, but basketball or pickleball, you get an odd bounce or a dead bounce.
Yes.
It's like the parquet over at the Celtics, right?
There
You
you
have to
go.
know where the dead spots are.
They didn't like
That's home field advantage right there.
So that's the more immediate item. I would say don't wait on that. Just let's get that beam end repaired or shored up temporarily, and we can help you with that, or you can
I can see it.
stick a post right under there. It's not a lot of load. Obviously, there's another concrete post not too far away.
There's a lip in there too, so you can work it.
So with that, we're happy to answer any questions. We're happy to take it further. If you see some items that we may not have included that you would hope to be covered by this report, we're welcome to feedback and questions.
Other questions from members?
I have a question. When you went in there, did you, on the outside walls, I know it's a frost wall all the way around. You can see the way that, my background is building construction 101. I've been a building inspector for 40-plus years. I'm new. When I'm looking at this, I know there's a frost wall here, okay, is what you saw too. And you notice it didn't backfill up against it.
Right.
All the way around, just about. So it's not that footing is not too far away down there. I know they put a footing in there, I've seen that before, because we had to dig up a small spot. So we can re-support those beams nicely if we had to that way.
Right onto the top of the footing.
Simplicity, correct.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, I think that'd be reasonable. We'd have to figure out how far back, right?
I understand.
We'd start removing wood to figure out how bad the end of the beam is before you get
Correct,
to
figure out
solid
the
wood.
rod is.
Yeah, at some point you might be just off of that
I
footing.
believe most of the wood in there is a white pine, SPF.
Yeah.
Back in the day, because they had mills up in that area, all through there.
Yeah.
And most when the Talent family, which came from Boston, they owned it, and they cut the lumber up there to build their camp. There's a lot of camps up there.
Yeah.
And all came from that whole area, because that was all pines up there. That ball field was a tree.
It was definitely a soft wood, so that's helpful
It
feedback
is,
as well.
it is a white pine, because
Yeah.
common,
Yeah,
and I guarantee they didn't go any back in the day,
right.
you know. My other gentleman in the back, he's familiar with construction too.
Other questions?
I have one question, because I really don't understand a lot of this, but with the floor being 85 pounds per square foot, does that, and not 100 pounds per square foot, does that have an impact on the capacity of what we can have in there? Right now, we have I don't know what it is, for fire safety reasons.
I believe with
It would
fire,
not-
they say you can have 250 people
Right.
with tables and chairs is the
Okay.
maximum capacity.
So, but with the way it is right now, other than that beam, it doesn't have an impact, it doesn't impact.
I don't believe so.
Capacity, okay.
Again, it'd be very difficult to reach 100 pounds per square foot.
Very hard there.
It is a limitation that we want to recognize. However, your current uses, as I have understood them from Chris, are well below.
Because Over the years, we've had events in there. Many years ago, that's where the fireman's ball and the policeman's balls were hanging, and it was BYOB.
And the other thing too, right, it'd be bouncy.
They're bouncing around.
Once you start to really load it more heavily, it gets more bouncy. As there's less people, less bouncy.
Yep. So it worked out well. It's still holding up.
It's still holding up. Again, this is an evaluation, so we've
Yep.
discovered something, but you're not doing any work at the moment, therefore, it's an existing condition that we've just identified.
Okay,
Yeah.
I agree with
thank
that.
you.
I would recommend posting it, because now you know. You want to be in a position that's defensible. At least let your occupants know this is where it's at.
Yep. Which is not a problem. We can do that by the building code.
Right.
And I can do it by life safety as well.
Yeah. Do
They're
you,
both the same occupancy group.
do you happen to post the number of occupants? that-
Yes, we do.
Yeah, so same, maybe even a sign right next to
We
it.
have it already with the fire department.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Did you take a question from the public?
Yeah, if you ever got to the situation of talking about a new surface or a new floor, that rubberized situation is wonderful, but is there any possible way that these dead boards can be replaced?
Yes, I would say replace in kind for right now. So I think that was your question.
Okay.
Match the thickness, match the weight, put it back exactly as it is now. Once you start increasing the weight, that's when we want to pay attention and make a correction.
Okay.
So the subfloor seems to be in good shape, there's no, okay, that's where we really.
That was my concern too, when we tore down the insulation. When we put the insulation, I looked at the subfloor in there. It seemed to be in very good shape all the way around.
Yeah, very dry, very, you know, no water staining other than the pictures you see there.
Yeah, what is the subfloor? You said it's quite thick, right?
It's more of a 1-inch plank, wood plank.
Rough cut pine,
Yeah.
Are they
Laid.
linked at all, or just
But-
edge dead?
but that I could remember.
Yeah.
A lot like springboards,
Shiplap,
chip you up, yeah.
yeah, stuff like that. This way you have your
So they're not locked
expansion working
together, they
together.
move independently.
Independently, okay.
Yeah.
It just give, I might, going back to what you were talking about, so, there was a consideration of maybe a rubberized floor or a composite floor. So, would it seem to be compatible if you remove the wood floor to be able to support that, based on what you've seen?
It would depend on the assembly. Again, the idea would be to not exceed the weight of that 3/4 inch
I
plank.
think it'd be less.
But if you put something less and then the rubber and that weight equaled the original weight, then that's probably something you could entertain. I would still encourage a discussion with the town building inspector, because it is considered an improvement. And so at that time, if you haven't addressed an issue that's been identified, when you're doing an improvement like that, that's the time to do it. Yeah.
But it sounds like there's a good base to work from, where we haven't got, you know, deterioration all over the building.
Agree.
It's very clean underneath there. I was
very
surprised.
That's great.
Yeah.
What's the average crawl height under there?
On the edges all the way around, it's about 3.5
Right.
feet. When you get into the middle of it, you must lay flat and be very thin.
Right.
Like,
If it makes you feel better, my partner Andrew, who wrote the report, fit. I did not.
Oh, I'll let Andrew go back in the next time.
Correct. So yes, there are portions. You can even see a little bit when you look at that first figure
you see it
A1.
on the first, you see the.
As you get further in,
Yeah.
closer to the stage, it's maybe 12 inches.
Yeah.
It's tight.
We get into the bathroom area, it gets tight.
It's tight. Yeah.
Oh, one thing, in the last photo there's a piece, looks like some sort of a hanger there. What is that?
That's for the cast iron that came through there back in the day.
Yeah, there's some plumbing
The
there.
plumbing in that area, because your bathroom, where this picture is where the rod is, that's where the door is, and your bathroom group is right there. And your leach field is that door as you go, I'm gonna say, out that door. It's on the other side of the shed in that area over there.
So this is holding up a pipe?
That's holding up the pipe.
Okay, which we don't see, okay.
There's actually quite a bit of plumbing in that particular
Correct.
area.
That makes sense.
Back in the day, it was cast iron. Plastic was not a thing until 19, when Roland was dying.
Pipe.
I'll say that.
So copper, copper in mine. Was
Back, yeah, but back then for waistline, they used to use copper all the time underneath stuff. In the house, they used copper until they invented plastic.
Any other questions? been very helpful. Thank you for your
Yes,
work.
thank
Yeah,
you.
Thank you.
It's much
By all
appreciated.
means. Yeah, certainly,
Appreciate it.
certainly reach out. Consider us, please, a resource as you move forward even, just to bounce ideas, whatever you need, just to make sure that we can get to that next step. And keep pickleball, baseball, basketball, all the town facilities happy in there.
Absolutely.
Which has got to be in appropriate order.
I started with pickleball.
Thank you for making time to.
Yes.
This evening.
Thank you,
you.
appreciate it.
I'm happy to hang around if you had questions after, off the record.
All right. Next up, we'd like to add one additional item to new business, as we have a guest looking to review some Spirit of Litchfield expenditures. So, Jess, do you want to come up and speak to? Thank you.
I'm actually just here to answer any questions, because we
Okay.
went over the budget that you guys approved for us, and it was so hectic, I forgot to call and ask for approval for more
So
money.
now you're here to beg forgiveness.
Yes, I am,
I
and
think we
hopefully
just
you
have to-
went and everyone had a good time.
It was great.
It was great.
It always is.
The biggest issue, we have got approved, I think, for $800, and our expenses actually were $1,600. The big part of it was due to the fact that a food vendor canceled on us 3 days before the event, and we were kind of scrambling for something, and we ended up going to Romano's and getting the pizza. And that was, I believe, almost $600 for the pizza. We did make some money with that, though. No, I'm sorry, it was $510 for the pizza. So that's 500 of it. And then we discovered that there were a few of the items that we had, like inflatables and stuff, that we've had for quite a while. And they needed a little bit of TLC, which did cost money. And then, let's see, what else? That was the main part of it. And then we had a few people ask us about the arches that I don't know if you remember, at Town Hall, we had the arch, that you could walk through. The only problem was that was put into the ground with rebar. And we obviously did not want to put rebar into the field. So we had, one of our members figured out a way to do it, but he had to buy wood to be able to put the rebar into the wood and then lay that on top of the ground so that we could use it. But now we have it, so it's not going to be an additional expense every year. But we'll be able to use it every year now. So, and the wood was like, I think, $270. So those are the reasons we went over.
And you have the money in.
Yes,
in account to cover
as
it.
of
So
the end of, after Fall Fest, because I get with Karen every year to make sure her numbers match mine. And I believe after Fall Fest, we had Spirit of Litchfield had $4,600.
Fantastic.
So we definitely have not spent that, so.
Yeah, so we
There
just
is
have
money
to
to-
approve the amount over what you had originally
So the
asked
extra
for.
$800.
The extra $800.
Yeah, I mean, I have my, I think Chris has all this, but if you guys want to take this, it actually shows you.
What is the new total now? Because we did 800 before. Is it exactly 1,600?
It's $1,621.65.
So that's what we have to do, the vote on and have it
Yeah.
Yes.
listed in the minutes. That
Easy
we,
might be, say, $825, right?
yeah, approve the additional $821.65.
Yeah.
Is that how we want to make the motion?
I believe so.
Yeah.
All right.
Or we do it slightly higher, just in case there's a math issue.
Math issue. Are there any other?
Then we don't have to come back around.
Right.
Are there any other, expenditures hanging out there? at this
No,
event?
that's it. It's just to get the expenses approved so that I can pay people back,
All right.
or the town can pay people back.
All right. Can I ask for a motion then?
I'll make a motion to approve an additional, should we go a little higher just in case? $850 to the Spirit of Litchfield for the tree lighting event.
I will second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, and motion carries.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, and for all the volunteers for putting on such a wonderful event. So,
No problem. We have a good time doing it.
Thanks, take care.
Thank you.
thanks. All right, then move now back to new business for the Board of Selectmen meeting, an update on the dock and grant for that.
Yeah, George Lavash from Conservation and I went to the Board of Selectmen meeting right before Christmas, might have been the 23rd,
Thank you.
Good night, be well.
to,
Right, Ike.
um,
Good night.
Good night.
thank you, present, what George had researched on the docks that he had shown us here and to get permission to apply for grants. And, everybody was in favor. There weren't a whole lot of questions. George had everything really covered really well. And that was all approved. The grant opened up last week. I just haven't applied yet because at that meeting, Tim Kleiner wasn't there, but it did come up like that we'll have to have rules, which we do for all our parks, open dusk to dawn. I'm assuming it's gonna be something similar to the river access, what we have there, John Bryant River Access, but then it was mentioned that we'd have to close the gate every night, which is really not feasible for a group of volunteers to go over and make sure that gate is closed. Now, if we lock it, it is really not ADA compliant. That, you cannot get a walker or a wheelchair through
That
that
angle,
little gate
that angle
thing.
So
And it
why would
also
it need to be
slows
closed
down.
every night?
That, I don't know. We did get new signs because we don't want cars going down there, especially at the playground, but now there's also, we're seeing drainage issues. When the cars go down there, they make the ditches, and you can see from aerial mapping the drainage going into Talent Hall from the divots being made by vehicles. So we do have the new signage to make sure nobody's going down there and parking. But so Kevin, as our Board of Selectmen rep, do you see like these rules being similar to like John Bryant River Access? We don't go close that gate every night. I talk with the fire department and we determine when it should be closed for the winter because you don't want to put a boat in there. But the pond has always been there and people come and go.
Accessibility down there is what the concern is, to keep the cars away from that area. 'Cause
Yes.
we have some unruly guests once in a while, I'll say that.
So the request has nothing to do with the dock?
No, it's to do with accessibility to the whole place. Okay, and that's basically it. And, closing the gate is something. The dock is not the main issue here. It's just keeping people from parking down there
Right.
and doing that.
And we do,
that's why-
when any one of us is there, we pull it closed if it's open. But some of the signs are faded. So we have bought all the signs and the posts to put them in. We just have to wait until spring.
Right.
So, and the other issue is not just the driving down there, but you have kids running around down there at the playground. So, we plan to really do a better job reinforcing that. Now with the cameras outside, Talent Hall on all sides, we're gonna be able to see any vehicles that do
Here's another
go by
thing.
and identify them.
There's another method of doing this too, and that's as the road goes down past the hall. It comes to where you got the traffic pattern goes around the building.
Yep.
If you block it there where the dumpster is and stuff like that, that keeps everybody down from the lower half and
Right.
anywhere near everything. That can be done by a telephone pole or something there, like a bumper barrier, or something with a gate in there too, they can get in and out, but it's locked 99% of the time.
But I think you'd
There's so many
still want
ways of doing it.
access to the pond, just in case somebody has an
yeah.
incident.
We need to
Yeah.
have
Down there.
easy
So,
access for
I still think we
emergency
need some type of gate, even
you
if
still
it's a
want-
swing gate.
There's many ways of doing
But
it.
yeah, but we need a fire truck to be able to get down there if we need it, or
Correct, exactly.
paramedics.
Don't let them in the
Um,
sand though. You never
And
know.
we've been trying to maintain that packed gravel with our tractor. It does a good job, but as soon as some heavy trucks go down there, or somebody's going down there and
Yep,
spinning out.
yep.
Even heavy rain will make gullies going
Yep.
back down.
So, so that's where that is at, and as long as, what the Board of Selectmen would want for our rules and regulations that are similar to John Bryant. We're not having to close a gate and lock it every night, then I will move forward with applying for the grant. I just want to make sure we don't go through all this work and then we're put in a position where like
Let's see if
we
we can get the
can't
grant.
conceivably.
Just get the grant, is the way I feel, and the board, I think, feels the same way. And we'll look at, if you got a problem with accessibility down through
Deal with
there,
it.
with people who are not supposed to be there, there's ways of putting some temporary
Yep.
stuff that the fire department can still get through.
Yep.
Okay? A wire, a chain, or anything like that, a colorful one, so they can see it before they hit it. You know?
I
stuff
don't
like that.
recall, what do we do at River Access on the far end?
Oh, it's got some posts that are up so that you have to carry your kayaks down or your canoe.
But if we had to
So
get,
you can't drive, but
okay,
you can't drive a car, but
We
you can
can
get
buy
the
that.
tractor down there to mow.
can fire get through that if they had to? Or
Yes,
is
they
it-
can go around the side of the field and come down the backside, and they can drive it,
Yeah.
okay. You're not gonna put a piece of heavy equipment, fire department equipment back there. You're gonna put the rescue, the pickup truck to bring
Yeah,
it down.
just
So
can we
Yeah.
get a rescue
That's it.
vehicle back there? That's all I'm
Okay.
asking you.
It's not a boat launch for a boat, typically.
No.
No.
You can do it, though. I put pumps back there with no problem at all,
Yeah. So
over the years.
Do you need any help with the grant application?
I will touch base with you when I look at it more. Some of it I just have to get information. I'll reach out to town hall to find out. I have to know like how many people in town are over the age of 50, how many are under 18. Like they're looking at that ratio, and we're ahead of the curve as far as what's predicted. I think in 2030 or 2032, there'll be more people over the age of 50 in the country than there are 18 and under. And last check, a couple of years ago, when I looked at becoming AARP livable communities, we were already ahead of the trend with our numbers of 50 and over being pretty high, and people are staying.
Yep.
And our numbers 18 and under have dropped, and so we'll hit that before what's predicted for the rest of the country. So because they look at things like
Sure.
that too. But, yeah, I could, especially some of the questions, because they'll ask what other things we've done for accessibility, and with other things in town, I have a list going, but I think it's good to have, someone else too, because it's very easy to forget something that could be important and sway it our way. Only 10% of the applicants get one of those grants, but, I can look to and see what else might be a little more local and maybe apply for multiple, and if we get two, then we decide which one we want to keep and return one back for another community to use, so.
Well, certainly send it my way. I'd be happy to
Yep.
help out with that. All right, next item is regarding Dara Pond, increase in phosphorus and what may be done on that.
I don't know if you've seen any of the meetings. George talked a little bit with us here about the increase in phosphorus at Dara, so we're not sure what's going to happen with the milfoil now, because that could cause an increase in phosphorus. I don't understand the whole process. But there was some aerial mapping taken, and from there you could see some of the entry points where water was coming from properties, and that's where you could see it, that where car or truck divots were making extra divots where there was flow into the pond. So conservation's going to be looking more into that. And I guess they have 2 years of studies already out of a 3-year study, but definitely that there's the increase in phosphorus. And we've talked about what it could be, and we know that our field fertilization doesn't use anything.
Yeah, so, you know it's not coming from
So-
what we're doing, so it
but-
could be just community.
It could be, and I don't want to say for sure, but it could be some private properties. But there was at least 4 when, I should see if we can get that map, but I could visually see the 4 points where
It
there was
flows.
flow, yeah. So, maybe the milfoil is not gonna be done this spring. Maybe it will, they need to get more answers, and just so you know, I did, let George know, I would check with, Campbell High School. They used to have a AP Environmental Science class that used to do testing on the water, and they would do it different times of the year, and they would actually get an auger out there in the winter and go through the ice to get it and see if either they have those water sample results on file somewhere, or I can reach out to Chester Orban, who taught that class. He's retired. Just so, to help on our part with them and they think that background information might be helpful, because we can see what things looked like 10 years ago or 15 years ago. So that's just where things are with that. It may come down to we have to do some kind of drainage along that, whatever you want to call it, that dirt or packed roadway to keep drainage going off to the side, maybe, and not directly into town hall, but that's.
You have
Stuff
drainage
things
coming off the hill now, going down, diverted along the back side of the hill, on the hill, base of the slope,
Yeah,
going over to the culvert that crosses it into the pond. That swale in there should be maintained all the time, okay? And the way the drainage comes off the top, the way the old driveways used to be, it comes down to there, that's why it was put in. Because it used to erode a lot in there, because there was a building there before that blocked all that.
yeah, okay.
That's why it's there. That's with it.
And I mean, we do rake the beach and we rake that area to try to flatten it out, but it might require something more than that. But Conservation's putting a lot of effort into that whole piece and getting more answers, so.
You mentioned that the milfoil may not be done in the spring. Is there a question if it will be done next season, or?
It depends on this, from what I understand, it depends on the level of phosphorus, because if you go in and kill that milfoil, I guess it does increases the phosphorus even higher in the visibility from what it is, but whether that dissipates over time, like, there's a lot of little questions that
Weather.
somebody can answer, but not us.
Weather makes a big difference too, with rain,
so-
drought and stuff like that.
One of the things they brought up was that I guess there's a large number of geese there, like 200 geese at a
Yep.
time have been seen there. And that produces a lot of phosphorus, but geese are afraid of swans, so they did talk about getting some fake swans out there. It's been shown to deter geese, I guess, and it's a fairly inexpensive option. So, I mean, they're looking at a lot of things, so just so that we're kind of aware that there's been a change in there and trying to figure out why and what to do about it.
And the geese left my backyard and went up to the pond. I had over 150 geese back there behind my house, in the field back there.
It's gonna be loud.
No, they talk a lot.
Yeah. All right, thank you, Judy. All right, so move on to the next item. Looking to set some quarterly due dates for field and facility requests. So this is something we talked about.
That's something we've talked about maybe in November or December, and we said we'd put it on a, January agenda. If we wanna, I don't know if we wanna deal with that tonight. Everybody for winter is pretty much requested, or if we wanna wait till the next meeting when we have more members here. But I put it on there because it's supposed to be on one of the agenda.
Sure. What is the will of the group? Want to deal with this tonight and set some target dates, or punt it for another meeting?
I'm good either way. I mean,
Pick some target dates.
Maybe for spring.
Let's get the rest.
So let me put it this way, well, that's the thing, if we're picking target dates for spring, we're already looking next month, right?
yeah, I mean.
It could be,
we're gonna
you said
start
2
opening
meetings
reg-
from like,
yeah.
we're talking probably the 11th of February, maybe. right?
Registration for most spring sports open
Right.
first week of February,
Right.
if not the last week
Yeah,
of January.
so-
So why don't we set that date at least, so we'll.
And are they deadlines, or is it,
Or is it when we'll open it? Because I
Correct.
remember when
yeah, that was the bigger
I
thing.
think
Because
we
when
need to have
Andy was
a
here-
deadline.
Right.
Andy Collins, he wouldn't take like winter ones until October, I
Right.
think
Yeah.
it was.
It's more when you're allowed to first,
Well, here's the thing,
Right.
like our 2 requests came in after they were due, and we
Well,
said we
didn't-
discussed this last Wednesday.
Yeah.
That if you submit it late and it can't be on the agenda, you have to either come in or go to the next,
right.
go to the meeting.
Oh, you talking about that
Pickleball.
date, or you talking about the quarterly dates?
Well, the quarterly, what I'm saying is we need a deadline date.
Yeah.
That has to be in so we can get them on the agenda and we can look at everybody and say, hey, softball, Campbell softball, can you work with LGSL because you have an overlap, or, you know,
So you really don't want you really don't want a deadline date. You want a date of everyone's
You
has
can
to be in
start.
for this date if you're attending.
yeah,
This.
because we will
But we don't,
address it on.
but we aren't gonna take them early then either.
No. Well, they can send them in early, but.
But we won't address them.
We won't address them until, so let's say we said,
So spring should be what, February 1st?
First meeting.
February, yeah, you mean, you should get them in, so it should be before that first meeting, right? So,
I mean, we could even, our next meeting's the 28th.
and then we will meet on in
think that'd
February,
be the second
the
meeting in
11th
January?
and the 25th. And the 25th, I think, is school vacation week.
Correct, but I think we want them in before then because a lot of people are
So if
open.
we said, let's address them on February 11th,
Mhm.
everybody's got to have them in by Wednesday, the 5th, in order to be on the agenda. Because I usually get the agenda going on Thursday, it has to be submitted Friday. It's no longer 24 hours before the meeting. It's 48 hours with the weekend not counting.
On a side note, if, in the future, if we want to get something on the agenda, we should have one of our bullets be, is there any business we want to add? Right? And at that point, we can address saying we want this and we all can vote or want to add it. That's how the selectmen get things after the deadline onto their
Okay,
agenda.
So where would I add, if you look at our
I
agenda?
would say
where
right
I
after the
add?
pledge of allegiance, we could say, is there any additional business
Additional,
that members would like to add?
Yeah.
Then at that point, we could say what it is, make a motion to get it onto the agenda, and then we're good to go.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Because I know that's how it's selected, that's how we get
okay,
additional
so I
things
will
onto the agenda.
change that so that we have that in there.
you want that before the minutes or after the minutes?
Doesn't matter, just whenever we want to address it.
Maybe after the minutes, before we start public input?
I know the selectmen do it after all the consent items, but
We do it after all the consent, and then we add it then.
any additional,
So before approval of minutes?
that's what I would do, yeah.
Okay,
And that,
Put it at the top.
and the reason for that, you got people in the hallway or in the.
Yeah.
Who want to come in and say something too.
okay.
So is February 11th too late?
No.
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 Okay.
So if
Well,
we're
you
gonna.
have to consider
do it-
what are the quarters, like, are we considering is the quarter April, May, June, or is the quarter March, starting in March until June? Is it
Well,
not
like,
really a quarter?
It's not really, it's more.
School sports, and they do use our fields, start before the league sports, typically. Like high school softball start before LGSL starts. They do use our fields,
Correct.
the girls' field, I guess, floods or holds snow or whatever. So I think we want to make sure we have a date that the schools can get it in too. And I think if we say February 5th, that's fine, because basketball will not have finished yet at the school.
Well, that date's always going to move. Why don't we just say February 1st is when we start taking spring requests? Right, we may not address them until that meeting,
Right.
but just say
So-
February 1st, we'll start taking
But
requests.
what I'm saying is they have to be in by the 5th in order for me to
Correct.
get them on the agenda. And.
But next
the-
year, that date's going to be different. That's why I'm just saying, if we can just say a certain date, it's going to
The
bounce.
first Wednesday in February,
Mhm.
because we meet the second Tuesday, so it could always be the first Wednesday in February. But like, it's really hard for Matt to take minutes on field and facility requests. There's a lot of information in there, and that's why I list it for him, so he doesn't have to watch each request 15 times to get
What it is.
what it is. I'm sure it's gotta make his life a whole lot easier.
All right, so for this year, we'll say due February 5th, and we'll address them at the 11th, meeting on the 11th. We're gonna say what time period? March through June? Right, not a quarter, but that's the season.
We wanna
Yeah,
call it
March-
spring,
March through June, yeah, spring season.
spring season.
Through season, yeah.
It's like, and people are allowed to, you say, if you want to be, if you want priority.
Get
or
it in and
Get it in by then.
But
If
we do
not-
have an order too of,
Well, yeah, there's an order based
Yeah.
on that, but I mean,
Mm-hmm.
legitimately, like, you don't want someone coming in for, like, they'll come in and ask for a thing in March and be like, well, we need it because because of, this is our season. Well, we told you to get the
right,
priority in.
yes.
and-
So I can send out an email to the schools and the leagues so that they know. If we do put something in writing, it should just say, like, except extenuating circumstances, like, maybe a one-time event at Talent Hall, they may not know February that they're gonna have it.
But people can put it in after that date.
Yeah,
It might be like, hey, that night's
Put it in
not
after that date, but that's why I'm saying, like,
You're not- right.
if you want to be considered up front
Yeah.
and try to work out conflicts, you need it by this date.
Yeah.
If not, you're at the whim of
Right.
everything else.
Yeah. You're at the
And
mercy
we
of what's
need
been
them
approved.
to be as accurate as they can with the request, or once they know how many teams, so that we do know what's open when someone requests it. And then I think those emergency situations, Peter and Chris are able to approve it, like Campbell has had to evacuate over to Town
Yeah.
Hall or
Well,
something.
certainly
that
on,
kind of
like, a
thing.
week-to-week
But this is
basis,
for the regular use type things, and if somebody's having an event that conflicts, then we just work it like we usually do, talk with pickleball or whoever's, in there. So for our spring season, that's pickleball, that's softball, baseball,
Soccer,
Lacrosse.
lacrosse.
soccer, lacrosse, and then the schools. And then the schools.
Healthy-
Oh, healthy kids
Healthy
running.
Kids.
Healthy Kids already has this in, didn't they?
I think they already put theirs in, yeah. For some. I think
Healthy
we've
kids
already.
running, and then the schools.
I think that's everything.
But it makes it a little easier for us when we have everything kind of in front of us and can see conflicts ahead and
Yep.
Yeah.
can work through that.
Do we want to set a date for the summer season?
So, what do we really have in the summer?
Not a lot. It's actually, it's
It's a carryover from the spring, a lot of it.
It's summer, it's spring, it's fall, and then it's winter. Those are really the three big usage times.
That
Like,
July, August is not a lot.
Yeah.
I know softball will have a tournament in July.
Vacations.
August, a lot of people take off and then they start up again.
So in August, we should consider this.
Like, I think, let me put it this way, I think we come up with this date now and say, this is only for spring sports, this is only for requests
Yeah,
at the
and
end
we'll
of
come up
June.
with others.
Because again, like, going into the fall, we're gonna have to, again, restrict okay, I'm not requesting for the fall in April,
Right.
What
right?
we will get in the summer is basketball,
Right.
at summer basketball.
Summer basketball.
Yeah, they usually start in June and go through August. Or into August.
Yeah. And then, for fall sports, will have to be like our July meeting because schools start.
Yeah, and we're on a bridge schedule during July, so,
But we usually don't have a whole lot,
no.
so,
Or July
and we
meeting.
already, I believe we already set that date. We had to have a meeting to set our whole calendar, so whatever the Wednesday is before that. I guess. Well, somebody else will be secretary at that time.
I know we went back and forth on
For
what day it
real.
was actually gonna be.
Yeah, I don't remember which one we landed on.
All right, so we're just putting out the one date for now for the spring/summer-ish season.
And the second one will be July, whenever the
Yeah.
July meeting is.
Okay, so I'll get that out. That gives them plenty of time to, they know what their schedule's gonna be and when they basically start. And
All right, any other new business? Seeing none, old business, reviewing the covering for the heating unit at Talent.
So that was delivered here, right? Did everybody see that email?
Yeah.
In the hallway.
And then Kevin Brown, I guess, was going to bring it over to the fire station.
They will be.
So it's not here in the building anymore, right?
No, it's still in the hallway.
Oh, it is. It's still out there. 5 boxes? Is that what it is?
There's 3 boxes, 3 tall ones out there.
Okay. So, and I do know that Conservation worked on, they got some pallets at the dump and put wheels under them so that things can be moved around easily.
Yeah.
In there, so. So I guess, I don't know anything about constructing that thing or how hard it is or easy to put up. If it's something we can get up there in the winter, because the idea was to protect it from the elements. I don't know. We'll have to
Little cold to be out there right now.
Figure that out.
January thaw. And,
Yeah, I guess when
Especially seeing the
somebody's,
temperatures
you
coming
know,
this-
and a couple people have some time and say, hey, we can do it on this day or afternoon, whoever can.
It's
help
dry
out.
out now. This is the time of year to do it.
Yeah, well, the idea was to have it protected from the winter
Round to round.
snow, so,
The other part is can you construct parts of it inside Talent and then carry it out so it's not so bad.
yeah, that's true.
there's thinking.
We can put pickleball to work.
I don't wanna exceed our, square footage load.
They will do it too.
All right,
So
we'll
it
find a
is,
date
it
and
has
I'll call.
been delivered, it's gonna be moved over there and will have to be moved to Talent Hall, because there's nowhere to store it there, right?
There's no room in the shed?
Well,
So there's a whole former kitchen. Is it full or is there still room in there?
no, everybody's got assigned shelves, and basketball has their low kid hoops in there too.
You could also put it in the old concession stand for softball, 'cause I think the
Oh,
only
yeah,
thing that's in there
And
right
there's
now.
no leak in that roof.
Correct, and the only thing that's in there right now is some of the tarps used to cover the field.
So before Kevin moves it, does someone want to reach out to Kim and see if it can be moved? There was another lock put on that?
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't want to go drive by and check tonight, but by the time I check tomorrow, Kevin may have already moved it, so,
Well, at least you get it moved once,
yeah.
okay?
All right,
There's no rush to put it up, it seems like, right now.
No, it's just handy if it's right there on site.
But they can come down and get it.
but yeah, the bigger shed, we do have some space in there.
Because I think only tops moved into there.
Yeah, that probably needs to be cleaned out before they do the roof.
Yeah.
Okay, so wherever it is, we can pick it up, and I can't imagine, it's supposed to be really easy to assemble, Chris was saying when he looked into it, so, but it wouldn't be easy for me, but I'll help.
All right, but when folks are available, we'll circulate a date for all. Call to see who's available to help, and we'll
Okay,
together. All right, thank you. All right, next moving on to the Town Academy opportunity. It's kicking off in 2 weeks.
yeah, the town department heads are meeting January 22nd, I guess, and then they're gonna, they plan to begin towards the end of February, and we need to pick our best days of the week to present the 45-minute session. So I think Chris was willing to present, so I can reach out to him and have him touch base with a date that works for him. Were you presenting too?
I can, so yeah, whatever is best.
So
will
I
go
don't
with
think
Chris
we
if I
all have
can.
to be there. I think just like a
I think two
couple
of us would
people.
be fine, yeah.
And so you and Chris can work out that and pick a date and let Kim know?
Yep. All right, that's it for old business. Moving on to other business. So Parker Park now has additional doggy sanitation
Yeah.
equipment.
Well, I call it fertilizer. There's a lot of fields you could throw it into and everybody would be happy.
Have you guys had a
That's
chance to
part.
check out those bridges?
I have not.
They're really nice.
They
and
look nice from the
really
photos.
connects the whole park and up into the community garden and go
Yep.
down
Yeah.
the other side.
Fantastic.
Brings up
Nice.
the backside where the ramp is.
Great, so the cameras are up and running and seem to be operational and
Yeah, what was sent to us, the pictures look
Yeah.
really clear.
resolution
All
was
of
great.
Inside Talent and all around it.
Yeah, I saw it last night at a presentation.
Yeah.
Worked out well.
Before we hit the emails and next meeting,
Oh, one more thing.
Harry,
Oh, wait, I got it.
from Conservation asked to come to our next meeting for, a program called, Let's Go Fishing. And he has a couple dates he wants to talk about. The state actually comes in and runs it for you.
Yeah,
So
he's
that'll
talked about
be-
that in the past.
Yeah, so concert is under conservation, so he's asked to be on the agenda for the next meeting.
All right.
So I will put him on. And what I forgot, the other thing I forgot to put under other is that the ice fishing derby is scheduled for February 22nd, weather permitting.
It's been cold enough already.
Dara,
Ice permitting.
ice permitting at Dara. So last
good
year,
year for ice.
last year it had to be canceled. But probably between the 3 fishing dates, we should probably divide up dates that we can be there, so nobody has to be there at all. 3, if this is something we're help sponsoring. with
What do you
them.
mean the 3 fishing dates?
The ice fishing derby and then the 2 dates for Let's Go Fishing.
Oh, okay.
So the idea is to get in those Let's Go Fishing instructional dates with the state before the big fishing derby.
Gotcha.
So I can put Harry on the next meeting.
Thank
The other January
Harry doing that, or
thing,
is George doing that?
Harry's doing it.
Harry's doing it again.
Yeah, well, it was Harry that emailed me and asked,
Okay.
so.
To get together.
The other thing we had talked about, and I didn't put it on this agenda, was we were gonna look at our fee schedule this
Okay.
month, so I can add that to the.
Let's come, yeah, we'll come back to that one. All right. Kevin, did you have something you want to add to business? Other business?
No, I want to keep my mouth shut. It's pretty cut and dry. There's one thing that came up over discussion. As you all know, that the Portage John at Dara, over the years, people have loved to see it flood out. They like to see if they can put that in the camera shot somehow. In case you see somebody knocking it over, you know what I'm saying? It does, it almost catches it, but it's not quite.
Not quite.
Maybe we'll see if John can change the angle of the camera.
Change the angle or
Or move the porta potty.
Porta potty is the simplest thing to slide to the side and just do it, you know?
If we just move it.
Used to chase them,
inside.
I've gone up there and find 3 or 4 of them down sometimes. Rough night.
Because we only have we have the handicap accessible one now.
yeah, which is harder to tip.
Yes.
When we had some of the
One that's there
smaller
now.
ones,
Smaller
when
ones.
kids would try to
Tip 'em.
climb on them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely do want that, because that costs us money every time we have to have,
Yeah, it's not
if
cheap.
that's tipped or vandalized, it costs us money.
So it just came up as a point of attraction. I'll let it go at that.
Yep,
An attractive nuisance. I got something to add.
Please.
To get reimbursed for a couple of things. The outlet covers, I think we approved the expense, but we didn't
Right.
approve the reimbursements for those.
And how much is that?
No way.
The outlet things were about $22, it was 21 and change.
Right.
And the signs were $92.98,
the signs came out really good.
and we approved up to $100, so we got it right under the wire.
That was actually a really good price to get all that information on those metal signs,
Yeah, they did a nice job on it.
and the QR code and,
Which outfit
Yeah,
did
brought
you
one up.
This is nice.
There's sturdy.
I won't have to
It has
keep
one of those squishy
laminating.
things
and-
on it too? What is that? The marshmallow thing?
The QR code, that
Is
connects
is
to,
that what that is? Is that for?
that's so people can
Kevin,
report,
take your phone and take a picture of it.
and then a form comes up.
The flip phones don't work on it.
So they can report damage.
My
or
extension
something
cord
they've-
does not
they've
meet this.
witnessed.
You want to show everybody?
Here you go, guys. I'm sorry, I'm from the old.
That's okay, but it keeps a running list of all the reports we get too, and what we've gone and fixed or cleaned up or,
So you take a picture of that, and it comes up with a form to send you
Yep.
something.
When you,
Okay.
when you put it on it, you'll get this yellow square and you can hit the button.
and then it'll say which park. And it leaves a little spot where you can describe what the
I'm learning.
vandalism or what's broken.
All right, can you get a motion to reimburse Jeff?
I'll make a motion to reimburse Jeff up to $22 for the outdoor outlets.
Well, no, when we're
And-
reimbursing, we have to actually reimburse the exact amount.
He doesn't know the exact amount. He knows the exact
It's
amount of
22
these.
and change, yeah, I know the exact amount of those, I just couldn't find the receipt for that one on my phone.
You want to change now? I got 50 cents.
Yeah, it's $21 and.
Make it very generic
Yeah,
for
we
the
can-
covers.
I can find it next time and
So we can't just say, as long as his receipt is under $22.
I think we have done that, haven't we? That's kind of what we did.
I
for-
just have to, I mean, I hate to make people wait another
Yeah.
3 weeks for the check.
Just
Well,
reimburse them
let's
up
do
to.
it, and if
Yeah.
it's illegal, we'll be told.
Guess.
Sure.
No, we can't do it, right?
It's true.
Let's blame Judy.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion to reimburse Jeff for up to $22 pending his receipt for the outdoor electrical covers and 90, how much?
To 100.
92.98.
$92.98 for the metal, report a problem
And I will second.
signs.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there a discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention? One abstention? Motion carries. All right. Any other business? Forget these last items. Seeing none then, emails. Chris is on it this month, I am on it in February. Next meeting is January 28th, February 11th, and we do need to think about that school vacation week, so we'll talk about that a bit further once folks have a sense of where they will be. And the end of year report is due at the end of January. Chris is leading that, but, you know, it kind of captures activities during the course of the year, so is there
I
anything?
sent him my list that I
Then list,
had
okay, so that's pretty comprehensive. All right.
of what I kept track of, everything that we've done.
I'd like to keep this here to put it with the town records,
I think that would be good.
okay, because I know we have a file on the rec hall. At least I did one, I've had a lot of old stuff that was in prior to me when
Yep.
Paul was here. So I like to keep it up to stuff. It won't go on an electronic scanner.
We do have it in an email, correct? If
Yeah,
that
you
needs
do
to
have
be-
that in email. I like the hard copy world, because I don't trust emails. I'm old school.
All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Well, last night we got out at 10:30.
Thank you very much.
I think we got out.
Jeff, how many of
We don't
these
roll
did you
10:30.
get for that price?
10.
That's really.
$10 a piece is not bad.
something.
Just on
Oh,
9 and
that's a
change.
really
Yeah,
good price.
9 and change is
Don't
not
you
a bad
think?
price whatsoever.
And it has police phone number on it.
I'm hoping I have a captive audience. I have a petition to the state legislature that's holding a public hearing on Thursday for House Bill 115, which would uncap the limit on education freedom accounts, which would take anywhere from $102 to $130 million out of the education trust fund, leaving less money to go to public schools. And I have a wording that if you would read to see if you would agree, because I could use the signatures. I want Litchfield on,
You've already had this on Facebook, I read it. It's been on Facebook all over.
I started reading it on Facebook before I came
I haven't read it yet.
in. Yeah.
so if anyone, after reading it, was interested in signing, I'd be happy to get your signature.
Don't you have to have it in by today or tomorrow?
The thing is Thursday. I have to contact on Thursday with it.
Pen?
So I'm actually gonna be going to, that was rude.
Don't be
I'm
rude.
going to the dump
I'll put my name at the
tomorrow.
bottom in case somebody else comes in.
Oh, thank you. I have a pen if anyone needs it.
I've been reading that. It's
Thank you
quite,
very much.
there's more to it than meets the eye. And talking to my rep already about it, it's a good idea.
But there's a digital copy online too that you can.
Go look at the digital one online.
Someone's
okay?
leather jacket.
Okay, no problem.
You think it, but the weather, you didn't have any notice if you left without a jacket.
But now, did you say you went to your state rep?
I always talk to people in life.
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
nice.
but now, they're probably for it.
I'm tired of all this.
I talk to other state reps too, other than just here.
Okay, all right, I was gonna say.
I'm in municipal government.
Okay.
I've always been in over 40 years, okay, as a building inspector.
I just didn't want to miss.
Oh, you're fine. I'm very familiar with that.
All I care about.
Between you and me,